Hey YouTube, it's a busy diva. Yes, I'm going to chime in on this Donald Trump SOB situation. You know, it's one thing that he called the players that, but then, when you say that, you're talking about someone's mother or parents. So when you talk about a son of a bitch, that means you're calling their mothers a bitch. And so why use that kind of language anyway for the office of the president? All my life, I've never heard a president use such a language. And then to use it, against people who are privately employed, that do not even work for him, and who are only voicing their First Amendment right to free speech and the right to protest injustice, and now the NFL wants to come out and stand up against what he said. They want to stand in solidarity. Many of them want to kneel. But, I find that a bit hypocritical because about a year ago today, Colin Kaepernick started kneeling to protest injustice, to protest police brutality, to protest, inequities for people of color. Now, the NFL themselves trampled on his right to free speech and said he had no right to do that. He should have protested another way, whatever way they thought that was. And they proceeded to blackball him. No team has given him a tryout. He is not playing for the NFL. And it's not because he's a terrible player. And so now I find that funny that now the NFL, because President Trump has gotten up there and told the owners, you should fire anyone who takes a knee, and basically call all these guys by, call them names and say all this, now they're feeling the pinch of someone trampling on their First Amendment rights, to free speech. So now they feel like they want to stand in solidarity. Well, my thing is, if you want to stand in solidarity, apologize to Mr. Kaepernick and give him a tryout. That's what y'all can do if you really want to show solidarity and you really, believe in what you're saying. Otherwise, to me, it's just empty, except for the players who really are affected. Players such as Michael Bennett, who was just unjustly arrested and roughed up by Las Vegas police because they thought he was a criminal, only because he was out at the Mayweather fight with a bunch of guys. And so I guess for some reason they took him to be some kind of criminal, and it was no such situation. Those things are the very things that Colin Kaepernick was protesting. No one cared to find out why he was protesting. No one cared to, gave a care actually to understand why, about these inequities, because it didn't affect them. So it wasn't important. But now what President Trump said was directed at these owners and directed at these coaches, and now it affects them, and so now they want to stand up for it. Stop the madness, stop the hypocrisy, and, do the right thing by your players and stand behind them and find out what's going on with the inequities that many of your players, who the majority are people of color, are suffering. And then you can understand why gentlemen like Mr. Kaepernick are taking the knee. Why Mr. Bennett, which I'm sure y'all saw that on national TV, why he is taking the knee amongst many others. And, y'all just want to show this solidarity. To me, it means little to nothing that y'all are showing it if you won't understand from the beginning. And with that being said, it's just awful how, our president is just being so divisive, and these white supremacist attitudes are just out there. I mean, he's just gotten them all riled up. When that thing in Virginia happened, where the guy ran his car into the crowd and killed a woman, a white woman at that, he want to say, oh, there were good people on both sides. I didn't hear him calling them SOBs. I didn't hear him saying that they should be fired from their jobs. I didn't hear him even saying anything about the guy who ran into the woman and killed her. He didn't call him an SOB. But you're going to call these players, all of them pretty much upstanding citizens of this country who have a right to protest and a right just like anyone else. You know, everybody hollering these rich players, you know, they ought to be quiet. Well, these rich players and celebrities are citizens of this country. And last time I checked, you know, if the Constitution didn't exempt other rich people, such as the president and his friends and his family, why should it exempt these rich people? They are citizens of this country as well. They just happen to have a bit of a platform because people know who they are. So, you know, with that being said, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's praying time. You know, all of this to me seems to be a bit of a diversion, because while all this was happening, you know, those who are very concerned about it, the president did pass a travel ban that this time banned seven, I believe, different countries, this time including Venezuela, but he claims that it's not everyone from Venezuela, just certain officials from Venezuela. And, you know, that slipped on by. You know, claimed he's going to Puerto Rico. I mean, you shouldn't have to talk about going over there to see what's going on with these people in this U.S. territory, but you need to go ahead on, get over there and do what you need to do to help them. I mean, this hurricanes hit them back to back, and, you know, they're devastated, you know, far more than we're devastated here. And, you know, if you want to look at it, you need to find out what's going on with many of our people who are still suffering from the hurricanes here. We have people still out of their homes from Harvey here in Texas, where I am. You know, people who are, it's known that no one has really come to check on them and find out what's going on with them. You know, the Red Cross is supposed to be passing out this emergency money, and there are people who are obviously need the help and they're not getting it. So, you know what? We have lots more important issues to take care of in this country. You know, more things that are more important than worrying about football players, you know, what they do when the national anthem is played. You know, just because someone takes a knee, that doesn't mean you're disrespecting the flag. But then, you know, people fail to think about, you know, the many, you want to say they're disrespecting the soldiers. Well, hey, let's think about the many people, African-American soldiers that fought back in the days of segregation, that fought for this country, died for this flag, came home injured, mangled, and not the same for this flag, and came home to still being treated as second and third class citizens, to still having to drink out of separate water fountains, still coming back home to not getting jobs, still coming back home to the same inequities that they're fighting for, freedom for others, and they're not getting the freedoms themselves. Yet they still stood for the flag. But at the same time, you know, you want to be angry at people standing up for inequities and deciding, you know, no, we're not going to stand for this flag because, you know, we're not protected the same under this flag. This flag is not helping us. It's not representing us. And, you know, you can holler all day long, well, if you don't like it, you can leave. No, we don't like it. You should change things. You know, and those of you that want to, you know, stand up and stand in solidarity now that your rights are trampled on, you need to think about why people were kneeling in the first place. Okay, that's what I have to say about it right now. You know, I got to say, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, praying time. It's time to just, you know, keep our nation in prayer, keep our president in prayer, and, you know, we have to trust God, because no matter what they do, no matter what anyone do, God is still all powerful, you know, whether we believe it or not. But I believe he will have the final say. And, you know, people need to stop and think about what they're doing and how they're treating people, and the leaders of this country, you know, need to do right by people, because there is somebody above them who is much more powerful and much more greater, who is watching. You know, we may not see it, but God is watching. So with that being said, peace.